In today's video, we're gonna make a fireplace mantle and make it look like an old wooden beam. But I don't have access to an old wooden beam that's halfway decent around this area. Have to drive 2 hours, and I'm not gonna do that. So we're gonna show you how to make your own DIY beam, rustic, beat up, and then we're gonna mount it over rocks. We're gonna cut it in around those rocks and make it fit perfect. We're back in the shop. Now we need to build this mantle and the bracket that's gonna hold the mantle over the rocks. So first we're gonna start with the mantle. I drew it up, sketched it up right here. There's only gonna be 5 pieces to the mantle, top and bottom, which are identical, the front piece, the show piece, and then the 2 end caps. And we're gonna use 45-degree angles on most of the cuts. On all of the cuts, just not on all of the sides. This mantle is gonna be 70 inches wide. So we're gonna cut our first 2 boards, top and bottom is 70 inches, long point to long point with the 45-degree angle. Long point to long point right here, and then bring it down here and check and see what we got. It's off a little bit. This is 1x10, so the board's going to cup a little bit, but not too bad. That's pretty straight for 1x10. And this side down here, good to go. Orient your boards the way you want them. Top, and I'm going to mark this the front, so I know we're going to put a 45 on this front side also, but not on the back side. Square cuts on the back side. All right, let's raise this blade up, put it at a 45. So now we have our top and our bottom, and we have our 45s on 3 sides of the front and 2 sides, and the back is square. So now we're going to take our middle board out of this 1x6 and cut 45s on all 4 sides. So now I'm going to cut a 70-inch piece for the middle board and cut the first 45 on this end right here. And I'm going to save this piece. That's going to be the piece to wrap around on the ends, and it'll match the grain. Not that beams are like that, but it'll look better. I'll just mark this A and this one A. All the boards have been cut. The middle board, 45s on all 4 sides. The 2 tops and bottoms on 3 sides. And now we're just going to fold these up. Before we glue up, I'm going to cut a block. This measurement right here, mine is 3 5/8. And we're going to need those blocks for glue up when we fold these pieces up. Like this. Take those blocks, put one on each end. And now I'm going to flip this thing over and brad nail it. Clean up some of this excess glue first. Let me show you what it looks like before I do anything to it. The edges look really good. Now we're going to push this down and nail it down tight. These are 1 3/4 brads right here. Just going to work our way down. Now that you have it all glued together and brad nailed and taped, let it sit here for a couple hours before you put the end caps on, or overnight, whatever works for you. Remember our cutoff from the A side, the grain matches, so that looks nicer for your block on the side. We just need to cut this to length and get it glued in there. Remember on the back side here, it's going to be a square cut right here. So just cut that straight right there. Okay, so it's the next day, and we got some gaposis right here, but it's all right because we're gonna fill this in right now with some sawdust and some glue. It's not gonna matter anyways because we're gonna burn the wood, distress the wood. This is the putty we're gonna use. Now we're gonna start distressing it, and I'm gonna start off with the Sawzall. And then I'll show you a bunch of other techniques I'm gonna use to give it this old look. Kind of simulating the big sawmill. The hammer. Let's try a bigger hammer. We're going to cut in some cracks with the utility knife right here, just like this, right here on the edge. Standard height for a mantle is 54 to 60 inches, so we're going to go 60 inches to the top of the mantle. But first, we have to put this 2x4 on the rocks because this is the main support system for the whole mantle. I'm going to scribe a line where the top of the mantle is going to go, just so I have a reference to start out with. Now it's time to try to find the studs. So I pulled over from each side and marked every 16 inches from left and from right to left. So now it's just kind of a guessing game. Right there, you're hitting wood. It's only about 1.5 inches of concrete. So these are 3/8 lag screws with some washers, and I just impacted them in about 1 inch. I'm gonna put it right here in this hole and then drive it in there. All right, so now we're just gonna snug it up a little bit on each side. Okay, so that's attached. This one's going in right now. This line is level. I forgot to put the blocks on. I'm telling you so you don't forget to put your blocks on when you do yours. So I reinstalled it. Now, see the gaps back here? I'm gonna go cut some wedges and shove some wedges in there so when I tighten it up, it stays square. I apologize not showing putting on the blocks, but these are 6-inch blocks and they need to be screwed in from the backside so they're nice and strong, just to hold that weight of the mantle all the way across. That mantle is not too heavy, so spread out through 5 little studs, the weight's going to be very light. We'll cut that off after we tighten it up before we install. Let's check it for level. It needs to go down a little bit in the front. But I'd rather leave it a little high in the front because I can manipulate it later. This is what happens when you don't bring all your tools. Okay, so right now we have the bracing up, it's level. I'm gonna add a couple more concrete anchors in these bays right here, 1 each, just to help reinforce it and make it even stronger. All right, so now we're gonna put our beam up, our handmade beam. Slide this on. I left the board behind it about 4 inches short, just so I could move it around side to side. And now I'm just gonna center this on, push it against the wall so it's parallel with the wall. So when we cut the stones out and we push it all the way in with all the cutouts, it fits nice and straight. So after we scribe it, we just slide this thing on and we're gonna put some screws to attach it from the top and the bottom. Okay, so now we're gonna take our little scribing tool. And you're gonna have to take your time. So I'm gonna show you a little bit. It's getting dark in here right now. So I'm gonna keep the pencil as low as possible so the nail is closest to where we need to scribe instead of being up here like this. So we're gonna touch the nail where it needs to be right here. And I'm just gonna slowly start dragging the nail across, just pulling it straight back, the pencil, and let the nail ride along the rock and keep the lead here. It's kind of hard to see, but I got the line all the way down, the squiggly line. See if you can, right there. So the top took me a few minutes, about 5 minutes to drag that slowly. Just take your time, scratch those rocks. So I cut the back side of the beam to get it close. Now I'm using this scribing tool right here I picked up at Lowe's. And I'm making a reference point right here, 4 inches. So I have at least 1.5 inches material to cut off in the back. And then I'm taking this piece right here, pushing it against the rock, pulling it back to my reference line right here. So now I just need to move this 1 foot at a time. It's kind of a slow process, but this is what it's coming out like. So we cut both the top and the bottom. But the sides, I wanted to get more accurate, so we're using a cheap compass. And the most you have is 1.5 inches. So as long as no gap is bigger than 1.5 inches. Now we're under 1.25 inches, so we're good. We'll push it in like this. Take your finger and just push them in at the bottom. And then lock it in right here. And that's the edge that's gonna hit with the pointy edge up against the rocks. And then I'm gonna move down 1 foot at a time and just keep going. It's gonna take a little bit of time. A little pencil works better to get in here. There we go. That's gonna be a line. So this is a 1 foot section right here. Here's my reference line. I redid it because this one was off a little bit. Lock it down. There's my shape. I'm going to put it right here. Okay, so now I'm going to put the corbels together, and I want to do it away so it makes it my job a little easier when I'm cutting it into the wall. So if I were to just take a chunk of 4x10 or 4x6, that would work, but it's gonna be harder for me to scribe it in on the back side. I think it'll work. I hope it works. I've never done it, so here we go. So here's my corbel right here. That's the shape. These dotted lines right here, I'm gonna leave my space 1.5 inches there, whatever I have to cut in. My guideline, what I could scribe over here, this is the shape I want. And then I'm just gonna stack up these pieces like this. And then I'm going to cut out these pieces right here in the middle of all these center pieces. I'm going to glue it all together, and we could carve out the corbel like this. And then this is open over here, and this will be easier for me to cut in against the rock wall with that little plastic tool we're using. To fine tune it, using some crayon to draw on the edge of the board. Then we're going to tap the board and see where it leaves a mark up here on the stone. And now we'll take the masonry bit, 1/2 inch masonry bit right here. The washer so it keeps it out of that hole. Just old school toggle bolts. They work the best. That's strong, nice and strong. We hit the stud here, and the anchors I'm putting in the middle, and I'm also adding wedges so it doesn't suck it up and make it crooked. Here's the fit. I'm pleased with this. It's all looking pretty good. Got a little gap here, about 1/4 inch. I want to shut this down. And the problem is what I keep doing. If you have a problem here and fix it, you may have a problem there. So you just have to go a little bit at a time. And I put this paper in there wherever it sticks. It's sticking right here. So I'm going to trim all this out around this rock on this side. I finally got the beam all cut in. Took about 1,000 little cuts and a bunch of hours, probably 6 hours of just cutting and fitting. So that's the hardest part of this, is cutting and fitting, because when you make a cut over here, it affects it over there. So hardest part of the job. Let me show you what it looks like on the inside of this beam. It's all cut. Look, it's all cut to death to make it fit on the edge. So let me show you what I'm going to go with, the finished edge. Is it perfect? No, it's not perfect, but it looks pretty good. So let me show you what it looks like right now. This is the finished cut. And I got about 1/8 inch gap in some areas and a little bigger, but it goes with the rocks. Once it's stained black, it'll look a little better. This was our problem area here, but it all worked out. Here's the bottom. The right side came out better than the left side. So now it's time to mount the corbels I built. And I remember I left this open so we can cut it in a little easier on the rock. And the mounting block that goes with each corbel, I'm going to mount to the bottom of this beam so I could test fit this and just keep sliding it back and forth on while we get it cut. So let me mount this and start cutting this. Square it up with the front of the beam. I could put this on here like this and start scribing it in. Okay, here's what I'm working with the corbels, cutting them in. The corbels I made 8 inches wide, and the beam is almost 7 inches right here. So the most I have to cut in is around 1 inch. I need to make the corbel just about 1 inch bigger than the beam. So when we cut it out, it matches right here. So I'm gonna cut off about 1.25 inches back here. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I need this inch right here to work with on the cut in back here. So I'm gonna cut off just 1 inch on the back side. If I were to cut it flush, and then by the time I do my cutout, this corbel is gonna be back in here. We wanna get it as close to the edge as possible. See, I'm gonna slide these corbels on. I'm just gonna take a little sliver of a wedge, put it in here, and push it on there. You could take a compass. I set it at the distance I need, 3/4 of an inch, and you could drag it down like this. Or you could use one of these, but this doesn't go all the way to the top. I'm just gonna double check it lightly, again, 2 or 3 times, and see if it's gonna be good enough. Okay, so here I'm at right here. I scribed this corbel in again, but now stuff's hitting behind it, so I'm just working on it a little bit at a time. So now I'm gonna remove this piece right up here. So I got it close, but I still have to remove material on the back side to get a perfect fit. Okay, so now we're gonna cut in this corbel right here. And my deepest pocket right here is 1.25 inches. And so I took this compass and added a nail and bent it and taped it so I can get in the hard to get spots. So it's right at 1.5 inches. And I'll show you how I'm gonna scribe it down. I touched the nail with the concrete. It's just on the edge of the board. So I know that's the biggest gap I have. So now I'm just gonna bring this back up to the top and drag it down lightly and just scribe in the rock. Just go slow. There's nothing natural about how this feels. So scribe it 1 time, just like this, and then scribe it a couple more times just to go over it to make sure you got it. So right here, I went over it twice. So I'm just gonna go inside line so I don't take out too much material first. When it gets down to all these little squigglies right here, I'll just stay on the inside line first. Okay, so the same thing for the bottom. Keep the same distance with your compass, nail it against the concrete. And the good thing is it matches right here. It should match right there. And just drag this on the bottom so we get that. Yeah, that's how you bust lights, John. Got lucky there. I had some trouble with the last corbel. Take this bottom piece of the original piece right here. And another clamp. So I'm going to show you, this is a clean corbel. And I'm just going to follow this line, and I crossed out some lines I don't want to use. And I'm just going to follow it the best I can. When it comes to the bottom, the thing you have to worry about, if you cut through the side, you can't cut through the bottom or vice versa. So you got to be careful, and that's what I messed up last time. It's touching this rock right there, and it's going to touch right there. So I'm going to remove this material right here where that black marker is. And that's what you have to do. Slide it on every time and see where it's hitting, and then remove material. So now it's hitting here, right there. So we put a piece of paper in there, and wherever it catches, it's hitting. So we need to trim that off. Now it's hitting on the other side. So you get the idea. fit, cut until you get it the way you want it. Okay, so on my original cut, my original scribe on the beam, I screwed the sides up. You see how the side wraps around? The lines didn't match up exactly right here. So I'd rather go be safe than sorry. So if I cut too much off here, we're not adding it back. So I'm gonna redo the sides, rip this on the bandsaw, 3/8 of an inch thick there. I'm gonna tack this up there with some finish nails, scribe it in, and glue it on after I scribe it in with the pattern right there so I can fix my mistake and it'll look like it was one piece again. And then I have to doctor this up and make it look old again. The good thing about this, I just have to worry about making one good scribe. It's getting too dark to film, but I need to cut these and get these sides done. And then the beam and the corbels, everything will be cut in, scribed, done. And I could take it down, take it back to the shop, and then sand it, stain it, and finish it, and then install it. That'll be quick. So I'm gonna get these cut. Okay, so I got the skin fitted, and then I added just a couple finish nails here. And now we're gonna load this thing up with glue and get it on here. There we go. Just gonna stick this on here. I'll trim it up when I get it back to the shop. All right, we got everything where it needs to be. So now we're gonna take the corbels off. Take out the 2 screws I have holding this mantle up here. All right, got all my parts. See you back at the shop. The color has been picked. This is black and this is espresso. We're going with espresso. Here we go. We're going to use a paper towel and a brush. Let's go make this mantle look like it's been there the whole time. We're gonna fill in the big gaps with the concrete. Just squeeze in your material wherever you want it. Let it set up for a little bit, maybe 30 minutes. Take a sponge, I'm gonna clean off the rock and the wood and smear it in there a little bit. Little training in progress. Go ahead. Keep going. Keep going. Oh, go more. Go more. More? Yeah, push it all. Push hard. Keep going. Good. Stop.